So I will take my needle binding with me. That's a little high up in the air there. And we'll try to needle bind outside while there's light. Are you ready? Then we'll come back in and we'll bug Karl, and I refilled his Christmas calendar. Or he gave me money and I went nuts. Let's see, his beer calendar, because, you know, Christmas every day. But we'll bug him indoors after. This is an extreme close-up of my face. So, are you ready? We'll go outside. Ta-da! And I think we actually have light enough to needle bind a little bit outside. So a little on the crooked side, I'll try to finish it later. But here's our weather today. A little bit wet, but I don't think it's been massive rain. Cheeky Redhead, I like that name. We were supposed to be at an SCA event today, but the weather, and I missed it. I will check it in a minute. Yep, we're going outside a little bit. Karl's too wussy to go outside, but he has a good excuse. He's been outside guiding all day. So, whereas I have been working on things in the store and in the office, so I have not been in the element. It might be windy in the microphone too. If you see the flags over there blowing. But I'll see if we can get out of the wind a little bit. If it gets too bad, let me know. We'll go in. Let's see. Sorry to hear you had a crummy evening, Pruda. Pruda, did you have a crummy evening? I'm going to scroll back and read chat as soon as I have two hands. Look, the snow is almost gone. There's only a few little patches of it in the village. Now, if you just go up the road there a little bit, you'll see a lot more. And you can see, like over there, that big pile of white to the left, the avalanches are still going. That pile to the left is one. The pile on the right is one. The big long tracks in the background are one. But I haven't heard too many of them today because the temperature's a bit colder, but not cold enough to needle bind. But yeah, very little snow left. Oops, I almost fell. There. Still have some snow. Okay, now we'll go down a bit so we can wind. Heidi! Yeah, she's gonna sit. Heidi's coming with me on Friday, by the way. Cannot wait. Heidi and Alexander are going to share the house that we're going to sit outside of today if it's light enough. It's going to be a full house in about a week. So Heidi's one of the early birds that are coming on the 31st or the 1st, are the others, but the rest all come on Saturdays, or on the 6th at least, 5th and 6th. So by the 6th, all these houses will have Vikings living in them. And then we must have a little Gilda or something on Friday. We have the grill we can light up for them, and they can hold their own. So this is the house Alexander and Heidi will use. The only house with a chain over the door, so this one means business. But we'll sit here and see. Yeah, I think this blocks from the wind a bit. I'm just gonna put the gimbal down. And the yarn. If it gets windy, let me know and I'll move. So Karl naturally is too boring to deal with the needle binding part. Whoops, too close to my chest. So this is what I did today, but first I'll let you have some more view here while I read chat. As seen through the yarn drying thing here in the boat. Actually, we can stand and look at the boat while I read. Gotta say hi. I saw there's 20 people on already. You guys are pretty good. I love my little following. You guys are awesome. I don't really think of it as a following though. I think of it more as a stitch and bitch group, and some drink, of course, Torben. Yeah, so anyway, Garcia sends me like, there's no link yet. And I'm like, no, I'm working on it. I'm slow, but here, I'll send it to you. So I copied her the link in before I actually made a post about it, and Torben still beats her. I thought, damn, you gotta get up pretty early to beat the worm there. Let's see. And he says, nah, pure dumb luck. His phone warned him. Well, that was fast then, because he literally had like maybe 10 to 15 seconds to beat her. Loftus is rainy and about 5 degrees Celsius. We were supposed to take snow chains off the tractor today, but instead had to bake all sorts of bread instead. And now focaccia. You know, I am waiting for you to bring me some focaccia bread because my idea of baking isn't pretty. Oh, shoot. We still have to... We have to break in the bread baking machine. I have the kids with me next week. They will probably be camera shy, but I bet I can get them to help me start using the bread maker that we got for Christmas. Karl and I have so many plans of a way to mess up bread. Audra's here. Hey, Audra. She's going to be here visiting soon. And Lindsay, covering from a stomach bug that made going to a fair a bad idea. Oh no. I hate getting sick in a market. I had that happen twice. That's when I found out I was allergic to beer on both occasions. I just don't drink the beer anymore because it's not worth it, being sick at a market. Nobody goes to a market to hide in their tent all day, that's for sure. Albert is here. Homemade bread with brown cheese, says Torben. Ooh. Cheeky Redhead, yeah, I love that name, by the way. And she's from New Jersey, United States, which is currently raining at 48 degrees Fahrenheit. And she's new to the Nalbinding and new to the chat. Well, welcome. So you're going to hang out and just chat with us. So we'll do a little bit of needle binding each time because it started to get too Viking as the girls got swapped out for the boys. As time goes on, we have different people coming in and out of the village. So, and then the second half, we have Karl, who is basically somebody that we dug up out of the fjord, a Viking. It looks like it anyway, but he's got all the, he's like walking, talking Viking Wikipedia. So if you have any questions, and the stupider, if that's a word, the more stupid, the better. There are no idiotic questions. There's only more fun ways to irritate Karl. And he usually doesn't fall for it. And another fun thing is trying to stump him too. Lately, he must be getting old because lately he's been stumped a little bit more than often, more than not. So, but welcome anyway. So we're gonna have fun. Charlotte is here. She's at her mom's place, so not so here all the time. But hello, Charlotte. Oh yeah, and Cheeky Redhead, you figured it out quite quickly. It's like obligatory to write where you're from and what the temperature is like. We are we're very curious about this sort of thing. And Susan, she's in sunny Frankfurt. Lindsay is in Texas. Yeah, you've been hearing Torben's name in a lot of chats. Oh, you've been binge watching the old ones. When you get to Christmas, you see Torben come on for the very first time. Torben had a podcast for quarantine pills, which means quarantine beer. But obviously it's not quarantine anymore. But anyway, basically he and his buddies just sat and chatted about beer and got drunker by the minute. So naturally we had to bring him on in Christmas time when we kind of stray off the Nalbinding and go more into silly Norwegian traditions and how they may or may not relate to Viking. One of them was Christmas beer, which apparently Karl has made it relate to Viking somehow. So you can see Torben come in on that one. We had to have an expert drinker with us. Heidi Lisa is here. Runa's ditched us for today. I'm so sorry we won't be able to sneak him in. Runa is Heidi's brother. Said at the end, I don't actually get to wear too much of the Nalbinding and knit or crochet. It's just too warm. But these you could wear. These are always good weather for. I sold some hats in the store, so now I have to make some more. I thought I was going to be moving on to wrist warmers now. Good evening, Peruta. Oh, I hope you have a better evening. And Kiwi's here from Bergen. Peruta is, by the way, in Moscow. Let's see. Yeah, let's see who else. Lørdagsskveld, which means happy Saturday evening. And I'm just going to catch up. Katrina Votford, good morning from cold, sunny Phoenix. Oh my gosh. Okay, now how cold is it? I think we're at about 0 now. I don't know. There's how red my fingers are. I can still needle bind. But as you can see on this hand, whoops, when it focuses on the fact that, there you go. Look at those weather-worn fingers. Not good. But the Band-Aid came off. This is what I did after 3 weeks now. I've had a Band-Aid on this finger. That little dot that looks like a mole is where I tried to slice my finger off. And it went through over on that side a little too. But I survived. Now I have a dot. I can needle bind again. I was needle binding anyway. Oh, Kiwi's been needle binding with Malabrigo Rost yarn this week. It's so fluffy. That yarn is absolutely wonderful, and it's thick too, so it works up. And the colors are amazing. That's Spanish yarn, I believe. One of my favorites is Malabrigo. And Moreau is in sunny Belgium. Yay! And Lyra's here from Kansas, and Ann Taylor made it from Arizona. You guys, I've got wonderful weather. I don't know what happened here. We're starting to get a little bit of snow. If I go closer to the boat, you can see it. Snow flowing. Or maybe not. Sure, now it snows everywhere but between me and the boat. I saw one. There's our Viking boat, by the way. This is not a ship, it's a boat. Do you know why? Who knows why this is not a ship? And what's the difference between this, a ship, and a boat? Little trivia for you. So anyone want to guess, how do we know that this is not a ship and it's a boat? And the other thing is, why are there no dragons on this boat? No dragon heads. Yep, Cheeky's right, no sail. If this boat was if it was a ship, it would have a mast in the middle, a mast in the middle with a sail hanging off of it. This is basically a ferry boat from getting to different areas in the fjord. Yeah, oh, you guys, I couldn't pull one past you. We did talk about this in the past, though. So now, do you know why there are no dragon heads? Obviously, we faked it with a skull, but why are there no dragon heads on the end of this Viking boat? It does look kind of creepy there. It's like a draugr. You've been researching vodmel and sails. Oh yeah, vodmel was like worth their weight in gold, I believe. You could buy a slave, a thrall in those days with vodmel. My dress is made of vodmel, by the way. And nope, I'm not wearing my dress. I'm wearing the other dress. Never mind, this is not vodmel. You saw nothing. Nope, it's not because it's a ship. A boat could have dragon heads too, a ferry boat-ish thing. Oh, it's got to be blowing too much in the microphone. It's because this boat is on land. Once it's on land, then the dragon heads come off. We have to ask Karl about why that is, actually. I think it's something to do with luck and... yeah. Cheeky's a spinner and weaver, so want to recreate it. Oh, you should. We have done a little bit of spinning, and that's my house way down on the end where all the wool and spinning is hanging out of. Normally I show spinning more than needle binding in the village because it's very quick and you can see an instant effect, whereas if I show needle binding, if I don't have the right crowd, it's a bit like watching grandma make a sweater. Yeah, Albert knows it's also shorter than 15 meters as well. Yep. Albert has been a guide in the village as well. We miss him, by the way. Okay, let me go hide back in the shade where I hopefully don't have wind in the microphone. And I can play with a little bit of needle binding. So today, it's not a new stitch. Well, maybe it's to you, but it is multiple yarn. So if you remember way back, I think it was Albert or somebody, I don't know, found this yarn hanging in one of the houses, and it's been so weather worn that it breaks. It's like in pieces. You get little pieces that are broken off here. So if I was trying to make something with it, it's also so thin, I would have to use like there's more pieces, see? I would have to use like a really dense stitch. But even then, it would break. Some of it breaks. It doesn't break too easily, but when it's got weak spots. So I decided to triple the yarn to make it a bit more strong. I have to take off the wrist warmers for this one. Yes, we are also in Viking repair season. Everything needs to be ready for the new year. So these are made with triple yarn. I see we got bark on it. This is made with the Oslo stitch. And this is made with 3 strands of yarn at the same time. It starts with just orange, 3 strands of orange. And then after about 5 rows, I swapped out one of the orange for one of the reddish brown. And after 5 more rows, I swapped out another one of the orange threads. So now it's 2 reddish brown and 1 orange. Oh, all the way down here, yeah. And then I could have just kept going. So this one is started. This one is in Dalarna stitch. Now this one I did 3 rows, and then I swapped out one of the yellow, or one of the orangish, and then I swapped out another one. So now this is 2 brown and 1 of the orangish, and now it's purely brown. And I will start venturing in this dark brown as well. So I don't know how well that shows, but you can get a really cool ombre effect by swapping in one color at a time. So it's not just a matter of strengthening your wool. But one problem is, now I'm using double line here. I have way too much on here. Yeah, I have what's called lazy man's thread. This might be an easier one to show it with. This is why you don't wad your yarn up in a hand and run out the door with the camera, because this happens. Holy crap, what the hell did I do? So, by the way, while I'm untying this, color of the month challenge. So we needed to have more challenges for reasons to use up old yarn or buy new. So we started color of the month. January, I still have to post this stuff on Instagram. I just have not had time to, we're getting ready for the season, and summer staff isn't here yet. But so January, the color of the month was brown. So you had to make something with the color brown. It doesn't have to be needlebind. It could be knit, crochet, whatever. It could even be painting. Use the color brown. And it doesn't have to be purely brown or any specific shade of brown. Just use some brown. So that's what we did. And then February was blue. And then we didn't really have much color to look at in the beginning of March. So March became gray. And I did finish those projects earlier. I don't know what in the hell I did with her. I think I'm just going to break the yarn and call it good. Okay. Now I have to release this one too. Okay. By the way, this is a needle with multiple eyes, and it's also much longer than most people prefer to have a needle binding needle. Most like it about that long. Some like them really short, but there's nothing but an innuendo when it comes to talking about needles, just so you know. But I like my needles long and flat. And with multiple eyes. I can hear Charlotte laughing on the other end if she's still there. Okay, so I have my 3 strands here, but you'll see that they don't end at the same spot all the time. So, which makes it kind of hard to put all those strings through the eyes. Let's see, I have a lot of length here, so I think I'm going to just cheat and break off. So what you can do is you don't want the ends to end at a different spot. You want them, I mean, not at the same spot, because then it's like too much of a weak spot. So you want to kind of split it up. So we can have, say, this one's changes here. This one will change about here. And then the brown one even longer. We'll just leave it whatever the length it is here. That's good enough. So now we have these uneven lengths, which is kind of hard to put in. But we can take a new piece of the orange, which is what I'm working on now. At least this is how I do it. I've seen a lot of people will use multiple threads of yarn to make something thicker. But when you have yarn that likes to split easily because it's been weathered, this has been hanging in one of the Viking houses for a while. And you don't have to worry about moths or anything because when you freeze it, anything that got in there would be dead. So, okay, so I have the shortest end. Then I'll take the new length and put that on. A little bit of spit splicing. I hope that wasn't too much sound effect for you. This is the beauty of 100% wool. And the older the wool, for some reason, the better it is at felting. I don't know why, it just seems like it. So then as I pull through, I have the other end. But this new one is a lot longer than it was before. So if I find the other end of the wool I just put on and attach it to this, then it'll be double. I'm probably going through this quickly, but... So, splice that one. And now, if I follow the yarn to the end, it'll be like this at some point, you know, double like there. So you can even have my brown actually goes a little bit longer, but we can break it there for fun. Okay, so there. So when I get to the end of this, I will break this loop, but I will break it down here somewhere so that one end finishes here and the other end will finish further up, and this brown will be somewhere in the middle. And that way, at least I can have all the yarn the same length, which is a bit hard to do with multiple threads. If I had my ridiculously long yarn, I can, instead of just threading the needle as normal, I can zigzag it, if you can see this, like that, and like that, maybe. Grab it here. And now I have 2 sets of thread if I split that correctly. I can put one set through one eye, one set through another eye, and I even have a possibility for a third if there was. And this way I have all that yarn going through the needle, but it's displaced thickness, because if you put all this yarn through one eye, you would have a lot of thickness here and it's hard to pull it through. But this way you have all that yarn and it's displaced, so it kind of, that's why you have multiple eyes. Anyway, and then I just continue as normal. So if you haven't done dollar in a stitch, this is another, we did show it not too long ago. This is one of my favorite stitches because it has such a nice weaving look to it. Looks like basket weave. And on the inside, it looks like ribbing in knitting. But the difference with ribbing and knitting is that these loops don't go diagonally, they go horizontally. and it's got a little extra thickness, and for some reason, these hug a bit more. They're the same stitch, or same thickness as Oslo, but I think the same amount of stitches I used, but this one hugs a bit more than the Oslo one does. So, $1 and then I'll check chat again, see what you guys have been up to. Oh, yeah, there. No, this is the wrong. Okay, so never needle bind on the other project. I was about to work it through the other one. I'm a bit chaotic today. Okay, so then if you've ever done needle binding the Oslo stitch, this is my second loop. There's my first loop, and the second loop from the thumb is here. Okay, but in Oslo you would go away in this loop and then come forward and go underneath both. But for Dalarna, you just do a mistake. Instead of going this way, you go under and off, and then under that one too. So the only difference is where you take the thumb loop on the end. And then these ones I should probably make a pattern for. These are top down. Oh, I didn't connect it to the previous row because I'm a nub, but we'll pretend I did. So there you go. One old one from the back. And then go under and off. But that's how I work with more than one length of yarn at the time. Because it's really hard if they don't all end in the same spot. And there's my screw up because I chained one, but I'll fix it later. Anyway, should we look at some more scenery and I'll see what you guys have been up to. You understand how the stitch works? Oh, good. Well, Dalarna is absolutely wonderful. And, you know, just use your crappy yarn if you have any and just try it. And you don't even have to unpick it. Oops, let's see. My gimbal is backwards. So I'm going to recalibrate. Hold on, look away. Come on, gimbal. No, my gimbal doesn't want to play with me today. It must be too cold for it. Wait. There we go. I'm getting there. Okay, we did it. All right, now I'll catch up. You can look at Lisa's oven that she makes. She bakes beads in that thing. Okay. Ah, Max is here, by the way. No worries, Max. You made it time to see the needle binding, I see. And I didn't do a new stitch today. Well, actually, Dalarna, if you hadn't seen it before. But how I worked with multiple yarns. And how you can do the ombre look. Yeah, Lindsay says she loves the old ombre look. It makes, I do too. It's one of my favorite things. And you can do that with sewing thread if you're really insane. Like even that really thin wool thread. And you can do it with like 6 strands or something. And then just shift out one. And you can make a really cool self-coloring kind of a, not self-coloring, but like it looks like self-coloring yarn. It does look like fall here. We're getting a little bit more snow, but it's just the thin wispy stuff. Cheeky said she's so excited to see the announcements and chat to participate. And you made it with crappy notice. I think I posted it with like 10 minutes to go. I'm horrible on Saturdays. If I got my crap together, I'd probably have too many people in chat to actually catch up. So, where do you put the outboard engine on the boat? Oh, funny you should ask, Torben. Oh, you didn't see the car in the village. We're not open right now. It's after hours. Okay, the outboard engine. Oh my God, it's getting windy and annoying sound, I bet. There you go. There's your outboard engine. It's called a rudder or a steerboard, or what do you call that thing? Anyway, but you'll notice it's attached by a rope. That is so that if they're going fast and they don't want it to slow it down, they can pick it up and put it in the boat and go faster. Also, when you're going that fast, if you have that thing hanging out and it catches, it will just snap off. So you want to, because you can get some pretty good speed on these things. There you go, outboard motor. This one's been weathered a bit. We had 2 of these boats. One is on the fjord, but it got slammed in a storm and is in that insurance right now for repair. But this is the reason why we don't let people climb on these to take photos. But there you go. Here's an oar. There's more of your power for you. Paddle faster, Torben. Should I send you some good hand lotion to protect your hand? I would not say no. We go through a lot of hand lotion. That sounded really bad, but it's true. Katrina Waterford is here. Hey. Let's see. I think we're going to get out of the snow, though. And then, okay, now if you've got some really fun Viking questions for Karl, the worse the better, or the more difficult the better. He loves a challenge. I'm going to pick up all my needle binding. and bring it in, and then we'll go in and we'll find Karl and see what he's up to. And I'll look at chat when I have two hands. The other fun thing is I've got my laptop set up in the little lounge area so I can read it on the computer, because reading it in on the phone, it disappears so quickly. It's hard to keep up without scrolling back constantly. Bark, this is what you would use to keep the water from pooling. If I slow down, you can see it a bit better. Although that roof is not elevated as much as it should be, so we need to redo that. Runa made stilts for kids to use during Easter. The adults can use it too. This will be fun. We should take videos. There's some old wool that's been hanging for decoration because it was too old to use. We should be getting new wool in soon. The local farmer bring it to us. They have the same kind of sheep, but they don't have it costs so much to process it. There you go. You can see my face. Because we're going to go inside the modern area. And not everybody usually wants to be on camera right away. So most do. Vikings like the camera. Well, it's easier to walk on rocks than on ice. Okay, you got some fun questions for Karl? I'm going to let him open his refilled Christmas calendar of beer. There we go. We can see if we can bring him in. Karl! YouTube awaits. I've asked for lots of stupid questions for you. See if he shows up. He'll be coming. But we're gonna go in this room. Oh, we got something new in the shop today too that I have to show. These ones we've had before, but they're in different languages. This is Norwegian, French, German, Swedish, English. This is the new one. We finally got a hold of it. I have been trying to get a hold of this book in our shop for 3 years. This is Maravi Pasanen's book, and it is my top two, being the top two are tied. This one has patterns, and I actually did try one of them because she uses stitches. How many stitches do you do? 12 stitches wide, for example, where I would measure, I do mine in centimeters. So I have to show. Unfortunately, we had to get these from Sweden, which is extra shipping. There's not a publisher in Norway that has them. And the prices have unfortunately gone up due to inflation. So they cost $3.72 now, but that'll match, no, $3.98. But that should match Amazon. Unfortunately, shipping is ungodly expensive too, but we can put, those will be in the web shop. Oh, and we got another fun book if you're interested. This is Daniel Serra. He's one of the best Viking cooks I know. But a lot of it is guesswork. But he includes references and inspiration of where he got the idea from. But we don't actually see recipes. No, the recipes are in there. But the recipes that he uses are inspired with, let's see, there. Stew of calf's liver. They're inspired with what we would have had in the area to make food with. So, but I like that he doesn't say, there's another one, multipe when you're making beer. So I was happy to get this book too. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you want to annoy me with stupid questions, you have to ply me with alcohol first.
I am. Did you bring a glass to have some alcohol with? Have a seat, Karl. I'm going to go get my needle binding.
Of course I brought a glass.
Did you clean the glass?
Kind of.
So, Karl,
Yep.
did Vikings clean their dishes?
They would have had to.
Yeah? Like, you know, they didn't obviously have dish soap.
No, that.
Oh, we're sitting lower today. I forgot to get a thing to put underneath this. This is not a good thing. Can you get one of those black boxes? You have to work for your beer.
Woman.
I'm sitting on your cloak. It's Viking hazard. Down on the floor is a black box.
Oh, nice.
Yep. If you put one of that, then the camera will be higher. I have chat to catch up on too, so because I wasn't very good at multitasking. There. Now it's face level. Okay, yours. So this one is flagged for YouTube because this one I had to get from Vinmonopolet. Can you explain what the difference is between beer that you can get at Vinmonopolet and beer that you can just buy in a regular store
Well,
like ours?
the Norwegian government assumes us all to be crazy. So if we could buy beer on Sundays, we would show up drunken to mass in the church. And if we could buy beer on election day, we would vote for crazy things. And also, if it was easy for us to get our hands on strong alcohol, there would be all kinds of problems. So that's, and also nobody should be able to profit of the sales of strong alcohol. So therefore the government profits of the sales of strong alcohol in a shop called the Vinmonopolet. So everything that is stronger than about 4.5% is considered too dangerous to let ordinary people deal with. So the government has to sell it to you.
Do you want to see what I got from the government store of the stronger stuff?
I don't like
I
that
had so
smile.
fun.
I don't like that smile.
Oh no, I got, what was the one thing you requested not to be in here of the beer from your last calendar? You got something in your last calendar a little bit more frequently than not.
Mangoes.
Mangoes. I don't know that there's mangoes in here, but I want you.
From the color, I would say.
What does it say? Kittens, puppies, and hops, Karl.
Okay, as long as I don't know mangoes, I can live with
It's
kittens.
Håndbryggeriet. Kittens, puppies, and hops. Juicy DDH Deepa. What do you think? What do you think, Torben? Did I do it? Torben grew up with Karl, at least at Sogndal, or from
We
his
were
college.
pretty
Grew up with
grown
him.
Up before we went to college.
Yeah. Double dry hopped. There are two kinds of people in the world: those who like things like kittens, puppies, and hops, and those who don't. We won't pass judgment, but we would like to refer you to a good therapist. This hazy juiced DIPA, Deepa, is double dry hopped with two of our favorite hops, Mosaic and Simcoe. It is chock full of blueberry, stone fruit, citrus, and delicious grapefruit. Keep cold and enjoy fresh. Oops, it's not, well, it's kind of cold here. Please don't feed your kittens or puppies with this Deepa. They might get sassy. There you go, Karl. It's 8.0% alcohol.
It's about twice as strong as ordinary beer.
They like it. Lyra says, chug-a-lug, little bug. We might need to zoom in on this one. Let's see. There you go, Karl. Show us what you're made of. I'll catch up on chat. And I'll see what I've been missing here.
I think the grapefruit might be as bad as the mangoes, but
Your kitten beer with blueberry and you've got your snobble glass. Cheeky Redhead says, I like everything with grapefruit. Cheeky's here for the first time. She's been watching the old ones, but finally caught live, so that was quite cool to see. Especially with the really massive advance notice they put up there, and our clocks haven't changed yet, so the time difference is all wacky. But the clocks go ahead tonight, or at midnight. So technically tomorrow. Okay, Karl.
it smells like butt.
Oh my
soap.
god. It does smell like a bar of fruity soap. This could be... This was so worth it. Oh, the hat's coming off for this one. Your mustache looks like it's thoroughly...
Okay. It's better than the mango ones.
It's better than mango? Okay.
But it's still things in this beer that has no business being in beer.
So would the Vikings drink beer that was made with kitties and puppies and hops?
Well, there is just one question when it comes to would the Viking drink,
The
and that
puppy and the kitty.
is there alcohol in it?
Oh, yeah. Yep, there's alcohol.
Yep, and I would drink it. This is just an educated guess on my part, but
This is brewed by Håndbryggeriet in Drammen. It's actually Norwegian. See? Product of Norway. That's not focusing. There we go. Product of Norway. So in Norway... Oh, I think it looks like a... Nope, it's not a pineapple. I have no idea what that thing
it's a
is.
thumbprint. It's a hand brewery, so there is handprints.
Oh my god, I'm so slow. It is, and it fits. Oh, okay, okay. So in Norway, we drink beer made of kittens, puppies, and hops. Would the Vikings have drink with kittens? No? Just if there was alcohol, yeah?
I would say that the same people who found out that you can use urine to color things blue probably tried to ferment basically everything.
Let's see. We'll fix the camera again. Okay. Oops, wrong way. Too much of me. More Karl. And then when you finish that, we have number 3. But this one you know what it is, because I forgot to put it in the calendar. Actually, it's actually number 1, because you had number 1 yesterday. But this one we found in the store today and realized we forgot to put it in the calendar. We should probably have that one with. So you're going a little backwards before forwards. Oh God, I got to catch up. So they like the colors of the yarn I was playing with, which is good. And yeah, Cheeky's got lotion for hands. You got to send it to, oh, I just see that the Oslo Fjord tunnel closed yet again every time they tow a car, they close the tunnel. That's the one that goes under the Oslo Fjord from the Swedish side, which is still Norway, to Drammen. How you doing?
We don't call that side the Swedish side.
Norway doesn't like Sweden. Well, they do, but they don't. It's kind of like
it's
like Minnesota versus Wisconsin. You got the Vikings and the Green Bay Packers, and they're not allowed to get along, even though you live right next to each other.
Just as I asked last time you brought this up, how many times have Minnesota and Wisconsin been at war with each other?
Oh, it depends if we're talking about cheese curds.
I'm thinking of actual shooting wars.
Yeah.
And for comparison,
How many times have you shot Sweden?
Norway has been at war with Sweden 5 or 6 times.
Really?
And
You got more history than we do, though.
not been allied ever. But now that Sweden is finally getting into NATO, we might end up as allies.
Oh, there you go. Oh, that's right. Finland and Sweden are joining NATO, aren't they? I know they were thinking about it. Okay, so we talked about the boat.
Must have been allied with them at some point.
Why do... Oh, yeah, is Sweden the country you're going to be picking on today?
No, I don't think we have ever been allied with them. We have been under them in the Union.
Yeah. How does it feel to be under a Swede?
I wouldn't know. I wasn't born back then. But
I hear you're somewhat related to the Swedes.
yeah, that's a malicious rumor with no root in reality. I might have Swedes that are related to me. It kind of depends on how loose my father was when he stayed over there for many years.
Yep, that's how you
But
must be
that
Swedish related.
doesn't make me Swedish in any way.
Oh, but Swedish affiliate. Your father worked there for quite some time. Question, we were talking about the boat earlier. I want to see how correct I was because I'm not a guide. I'm a textile worker. Why does the Viking boat not have dragon heads on it?
What do you mean?
You know how you have like at the end of a Viking
The
boat?
boat we have
The
does
boat-
not have dragon heads on it
Any
right
boat.
now.
Any boat. Why would the Viking dragon heads be removed from a boat?
Well, here we can only guess. There is one reference in one of the
I was
sagas
talking in absolutes because I know everything.
to removing dragon heads to not scare the good spirits of the land.
I got it.
So the logic might be that dragon heads keep the bad spirits away. But it might also just be like your pirate flag. You put on the dragon heads when you see mean business. And it's kind of unmistakable for a Christian paddling around back in the Viking Age in his boat with crosses on the sails. When he sees the dragon heads, he knows that this isn't going to be fun.
Your kitten beer smells so sweet.
It's enough alcohol in it that I kind of like it anyway. But particularly the blueberries I can taste.
I see there's a fruit fly circling that thing. I don't know where that came from. But Cheeky Redhead also asked, by the way, this was from earlier because I was using multiple color yarn to make. How period are using multiple colors in things? So basically, as I was tripling the yarn to get its different.
Is the textile lady asking me?
Yep. I know, we know. What do we say about Vikings and colors, though?
Well, this is, I wouldn't say this is multiple colors. This is one color that has kind of been colored unevenly.
Yeah, no, this is actually 3 individual color, or 2 individual colors blended one at a time in. So this isn't, I have to weave in here, I see.
A thread is very time consuming to make, and coloring it is a big project. So, and I've also seen the results when people are coloring, plant coloring in the village. You end up with skeins that are not exactly the same color, they are slightly different.
Oh yeah,
And
because
sometimes
first
the
bath,
skein is
second
light
bath.
in one end and darker in the other end
Yep.
because of the drying process.
And if it was too tightly in one area, then the color might not have gotten
So,
deep in.
just from the position of common sense, I would say that that will probably be pretty common if you are dealing with people who are not super professional experts in their field.
Okay, because no, I would only have to guess without. I know that they liked using colors, so but whether they would use it together like that with ombre effect, I have no idea. But I was actually happy to see that Andecker's got a lot of old samples of needle mining, which is older than Viking Age and found all over the world. So this has nothing to do with Viking in particular, but a lot of it was made with what looks like leftover yarn in a lot of different colors. It's kind of cool. I was very happy because I'm a huge fan of using leftover yarn or yarn that's kind of old and tired.
That pretty much goes without saying because yarn is a
Yeah.
valuable resource. It's not
It
like
takes time to spin this.
you don't refer to hack silver as leftover silver because it's too valuable to throw away, and you can always use it for something.
Yeah. Let's see how to zip through. I've been really bad on reading text. Oh, Anna Taylor says, I think house slippers are next. It is house slipper season now that winter is going away. I had made you slippers, but I made them in crochet because it's super fast and I didn't have to think. But I can't crochet too often because if after a week of crocheting I have to stop because my wrists will hurt. It doesn't happen too much with needle binding though. Oh, Aunt Bonnie is here, by the way. They got 2.5 feet of snow, or she has 2.5 feet of snow in her front yard. And she made a chain in needle binding. Yay! See, you can do this. If you can make a chain now, if you make it long enough, you can decorate a Christmas tree with it. Or you can use it as a snooter. What the heck is that called? Drawstring. A drawstring on something. See, everything is, or it's a cat toy, depending on how long the chain is. Lots of things to do. And then Victorian is here, 111. Excited to be home on a Saturday and I can join in. Yay! Hello from Oregon. Oh, I think that's probably the first time we've had someone in from Oregon. Let's see. I'm looking through. Oh yeah, they were talking about someone was using cotton, and then Peruta answers quite correctly. It can be done to use with cotton, but you can't splice it by spit splice, so you have to use another join. We should actually do a day on different ways of joining yarn. That takes a little bit more prep time, though. You can join with the sew splice, or a Russian join, or a weaver's knot. I can go in forever for that. So it's good that I see they were talking about how cotton yarn. Cheeky Redhead says, I don't have crappy yarn, just yarn that serves different purposes. I like that. No, I was super excited because we pulled this out of, it was on display out in a Viking house for quite a long time, a couple of years anyway, and I thought it'd be fun to use, but it just has some weak points in it now from weather, so it breaks pretty easily. But when it's triple, it's stronger. Let's see. Ann Taylor's, Lindsay, I usually triple yarn and use the S join, triple yarn join. Oh, I like that idea too. I don't want a thicker yarn, but I usually use the mango join, or which is similar to the Russian join. I saw there was a guy that posted a video called the mango join, and yeah, it looks a lot like the Russian join. I think it's just another name for it. But there might be some slight similarity. I'm not quite sure of. But that's a lot of people like that join for yarns that don't spit splice or felt. Torben says, I thought all boats in Norway had to have an engine. Paddle faster, says Lindsay. I showed him the steerboard and called it, that was his outboard motor. Okay, and then Cheeky's got a question for you. How do you know, because we got to get to the questions, it's running out on time. My question for Karl is, how do you know how wide a sail should be in relation to the width of the boat? She's been studying vaudeville.
Ooh, that's a good question.
Oh, you stumped him!
This is, it basically has to do with the connection point of the mast to the ship itself. Because the wider, the bigger your sail, the bigger the area of your sail, the better it is in theory. But there is a point when the sail is so big that it flips the boat over if you get wind in from the side, or it just breaks the mast if you have wind in from the right direction. So the bigger and more massive your mast, the wider sail your boat can handle. I don't know the mathematics for this. But this is something that the Vikings probably knew more or less intuitively based on experience. But these days you can basically do it mathematically by going this many square feet for this many tons and this length of ship.
Oh, I see they like the books, by the way. We can go into more detail of those next week. There was too much to cover this week. Kiwi says, do you wear turn shoes in the village in the winter? I've been struggling with slippery leather soles in the snow, even with crampons. And I've seen Viking versions of crampons being made with nails, etc. So I took my boot off, so it now smells a lot like feet here. This is my cheat.
Pretty much stopped using Viking shoes altogether. But if I was to use them, I would use them in the winter rather than in the summer. Because the Viking shoes are surprisingly not slippery. Maybe because the soles are so thin that you basically use your body heat to to melt the ice underneath your feet.
I think most of us have stopped using them in the winter because they keep falling on their ass.
And no, well, I'd never had that problem. I more have that problem with
Yeah, but
my
you walk like a
modern
creepy-
shoes than I do with
guy.
my Viking shoes.
Yeah.
The problem with the Viking shoes is in the summer because we have our gravel
Rain.
here is mostly anorthosite,
Yeah.
and it eats through leather like nobody's business.
No, we do allow modern shoes, but we like them to be simple, and this would be better if it was a brown instead of a black, but this is what they had. But a lot of people will take their Viking shoes and take them to a cobbler and have modern soles put on underneath. We just ask that they're not like bright white, but we do actually have that one exception to the rule in the Viking kit that you can use a simple modern shoe if you want to, because we have so much wet in Gudvangen and those sharp rocks that they just rip apart the bottom of those shoes.
Yeah, the wet shouldn't be a problem if you take proper care of your Viking shoes.
Yeah, no, I probably don't do that, but I've gone through so many. I've rotted
if
the soles
you use
off.
the leather impregnation thing fairly regularly, and you have good shoes to begin with, they shouldn't be any wetter than modern shoes. Maybe even a little bit less wet than modern shoes. But the leather soles can't handle the punishment of the gravel. That's the main issue.
My favorite winter shoes are actually not Viking, but if you look up Mucklucks, Mukluks, out of Ely, Minnesota. I grew up in Duluth, Minnesota, if you didn't know. Anyway, out of Ely, Minnesota, there is a place called Steger Mucklucks, and Will Steger was, he went to the North Pole and back. Obviously knows very much what it's like to freeze, and of course it's cold in Minnesota, and his wife made shoes for him, or designed a pair of shoes called Mucklucks, which is based on American Indian or Eskimo Indian, I have no idea, don't quote me on that. But they are made, she's got some that are made with moose hide in both tall and short, and you have like straps that go around in a chocolate brown color or a tan brown color. Those are perfect. Those are absolutely the warmest pair of boots I've ever owned. They last forever. I've had 2 pairs now that have been lasting me nearly 30 years. Those work really great for Viking, but they are a bitch to put on when your feet swell up. So anyway, I love those, but it's not entirely
This is actually
Viking.
growing on me. It might be
You're
just,
starting to like the kittens and the puppies?
might be just because it's stronger than I'm used to, but I'm not tasting the blueberries anymore, and I'm not noticing the bloody grapefruit.
We'll go through the needle binding books next week. I will remember to do that. Because we don't have all of them. We have some more in the library here, but we don't sell them in the store. And it's been a while since I've gone through the books, but I can do that for the needle binding part and tell you what I liked about what I don't like. But I have my top 2 needle binding books ever are tied for first place, and that would be this one as far as practicality and use. And the other one called Needle Binding, What in the World is That? Because it is a really good source for history of null binding, etc. So there you go. But we'll look at these later. Albert likes the cookbook, by the way. The Daniel Sarah book. Okay, let's see, what else am I missing here? Torben's got 9 dragon heads on the roof. This doesn't surprise me. Cheeky Redhead says, I'm saving thrums, loom waste for my weaving to needle bind with. Yes, there's also, you can also, if they're really short thrums, you have to kind of look for it. I think it's pretty far down on either Instagram, or that might actually be in the needle binding book, but if you search thrums, you'll see I put a picture of how you can put thrums in there, and I have to make some mittens with thrums in them. Basically, you take the small ones and you needle bind a piece of, you work a little bit of the thrums that are like this short in as you needle bind, and you get like this lining in here, which is a bit like a fur kind of a lining on the inside, but then you have to make these bigger to compensate. One day. Okay, that was very fast. But we'll get into that another day too. Victorienne 111. I have a dusting of snow here in Oregon. Just finished some fingerless mitts in Oslo stitch, and a little cat toy with the leftovers for the recipients cats. Oh, I love it. Let's see. And then there's talk about moth. Yeah, if you have a moth problem, just as long as it hasn't eaten the wool, put it in the freezer. It'll kill any eggs or anything dead. This is why I think we don't have a moth problem with the wool in the village ever, because it freezes over winter.
Georg keeps talking about moths.
Yeah, but that's because he's talking about the clothes at home. So if the clothes that are kept at home are a different story because they're never frozen, but you can put it in a bag and stick it in the freezer, and that'll kill anything. With the Russian join, says Ann Taylor, the joined yarns are sewn back into themselves. It's good for color change. And with the mango join, each yarn is sewn into the other yarn, frayed, and then pulled back. Ah, okay. So there you have the differentiation. Torben says, it looks like Karl is forcing that beer down.
Nah, actually it's growing on me.
Perrin Star finally managed to catch the actual live. Welcome, by the way. Where are you from, Perrin? If I missed it, you have to write where you're from. And of course the temperature. We're very worried about temperature in this. Concerned about the temperature in this group. What about sealskin shoes?
Maybe.
You know the ones that they look like more some are from the north of Sweden, Sami.
Yeah, that's.
I used to wear those when I started Viking reenactment.
But this isn't my field.
Shredded.
And I haven't looked into it, but I don't know finds.
Hmm.
And that's kind of like the holy grail when it comes to everything. If there is a find of anything like it, then it's probably fine. If not, then not.
Maybe it was reindeer, come to think of it. But the reindeer one I did too. But the fur on it would rot off of it.
The Sami mostly use reindeer.
Yeah.
But we know that the Vikings were hunting seals, and it's not that completely off the wall for them to use the skin. But it's also, if reindeer skin, or for that matter cowhide, turns out to be better for whatever reason, then I probably wouldn't care about the chubby sea puppies.
Lindsay points out another advantage of Texas. It doesn't normally get cold enough, long enough to kill moths. Been thinking about baking my yarn instead. I wondered about that. I did try to stick some in the hot sunlight in the summer to try to see if that would get rid of it, because we had some yarn that had been sitting up in the loft for so long. But if you have a freezer box, not like the one that's attached to the refrigerator, that's too small, but you can put it in a freezer box.
I haven't tested this, but I have it from a pretty
Yeah?
good authority. If you can handle the smell of lavender,
Oh!
lavender will keep the moths away.
The moths don't like lavender? I know other bugs don't like it.
People used to keep it in their drawers, the drawers where they kept their Christmas clothes, basically.
Yeah.
So that the moths would stay away.
I noticed that we haven't had any moth or mice issue with the wonderful Dina that outer maid that has wool in it.
No,
but she's also put some, not lavender, but another of...
but we've had it for like 7.5 minutes.
Yeah, but it's been in the Viking house too until we brought it in here because we were cold. Let's see, what else am I missing here? We might go a little bit over, but that because we've got to get the questions in. Yeah, okay. Cheeky says lavender is a good moth preventative. We should almost get some we should get some moths and put them in the store. No, yeah, you can, if you don't have moth-infested wool, we can make that happen. No,
how good that idea is depends on how good our insurance
we should get lavender
is.
and put it in the store. Yeah, little sachets of lavender would be good. Oh, there you go. Victorian says, I forgot the temperature here. Shame on you. But she remembers now. It's 35. I'm assuming everybody's female in this chat, even Torben. It's 35 degrees Fahrenheit.
Torben.
Oh, particularly Torben. Yeah. Oh, you have to go back and watch. I think it was at one of the last couple of weeks in December. Anyway, you can see you and Torben slowly getting. I think that was a 2-hour episode though, but slowly getting more and more sloshed as you evaluate 16 beers, and I keep cracking it open. Have another. Screw what it says on the label. Just drink. And yeah, Oregon. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Shiki says there's moth traps available on Amazon. That's good to know, actually. I wonder how that would be lavender to import that. I know that animal and plant and fiber products is a hard issue to import they have to be processed or something. Like, so if you're going to get a horn, it has to be, or wool or fur from here, it has to be processed before they will let you, especially take it into Australia or New Zealand.
Yeah, but you don't have to take it to Australia or New Zealand.
Oh, no, but United States, right on the thing, it says, have you been around any livestock? And well, a couple of sheep maybe, but when going from one country to the
just
other.
to discriminate against the Welsh.
Oh, God. So we're picking on them now. Jeez. Let's see. What else did I miss here? It looks like, no, maybe. Question for Karl. What is your favorite Viking pin for clothing closure, and how many times have you accidentally stabbed yourself with one? Oh, you have no idea the bone you're picking with this one. Show him what you did to your
I
pin.
haven't accidentally stabbed anybody for a long time. But my pin
excuse
has this, it has kind of curled back on itself. So now it's a girlfriend hook.
How many times? You have, oh, the embroidery is starting to catch on that thing now. And the sweaters, but show them properly. If you look under your beard, you can see within this, you can see. Is that a fibula or a, what do you call that?
This is a ring buckle, and this particular
There you
ring
go.
buckle is called a thistle brooch
Thistle.
because these balls on it
Hold your balls still.
looks like the seed pods on a thistle.
Thistle.
Stop it, woman, or you will be stabbed.
You can't, it's a hook now. Tell
Yes.
tell the story about
This is not a hook.
No, that's a Scramma sax, and I hope they don't know what you're grabbing down there, but it's a Scramma sax. Tell them the story about Roger's clasp.
Yes, Roger.
Fjallar, or the one with
Fjallar,
his foot on the stump. And
The one with the wooden shoes. You might have seen him, tall guy.
Yeah, he's on one of the thumbnails anyway, a couple of weeks
Back
back.
a few years ago, he used to walk around with a really big silver.
Was it silver?
Yeah,
I thought it was iron.
no, it was silver.
Oh, damn.
Silver buckle like this, but maybe twice as big, and the spike on it was like 3 times as long. And his girlfriend is tiny. Marie, you might have met her too.
Yeah, she was quickly when we had French. She was only in for about a minute, but yeah.
And every time he hugged her, he was in direct danger of stabbing her through the skull. So he started having a little cork at the end of the...
Could you imagine him walking around with a cork sitting at the end of this thing? Oh, I think that was awesome. But what other kind of clothes? Okay, so this would be, what is it, a fibula or a penannular amulet? Penannular brooch?
You sometimes
other
call
kind?
it a penannular brooch, but the term that most people recognize for this, I think, is ring buckle.
Ring buckle, okay. But what other things that you could use to hold your cloak together?
You could use a straight up pin.
This is obviously not one. But, and it
We
has
have some in the store that it's kind of debated whether they're meant as hairpins or they're meant as cloak pins, because
the
it's,
silver ones that look like you could kill somebody.
Yes, they're basically just a silver spike with a kind of ornate bulb on one end.
Yeah.
And sometimes in the finds, these are really big, as in unpractically big for a cloak pin.
Fibula is like a modern safety pin. I like that description of it. Okay, so there was another one that has like a hole on the end. It looks like a needle, but there's a string attached. Do you know that one? Actually,
Yeah, the really ornate silver
Midgard
one.
Viking Museum or Historic Center put out a little video of how to wear a cloak. I like this one.
Yeah, that's the really ornate silver one with the
No, he's just got the
little ring
stick
on the
with the
back
string.
that you can't get around the needle.
Oh, maybe. But this one you have to like.
You would have to use a string on that one because the ring is
Yeah.
tiny. It's a big brooch, and behind the brooch you have a tiny ring, and then the brooch kind of ends in a long spike.
Yeah. Okay.
So
sorry.
you put the spike through your clothes, and then you have a leather string that goes through the ring and around the spike, and then through the ring again.
So you gather up the ends of your cloak, a bit like that. You know, I don't know if you saw how I did it. It's like a big zigzag, and then on the other side too. And then you put the spike through here, and this all the way through to the other side, and then you bring the yarn or the string across, and you do like an infinity thing around it to keep it together.
Yeah.
That kind of. But do you like that kind of closure?
No, it's horrendously unpractical.
Yeah,
But then again, I
I
very rarely remove this. I just lift it off my head straight up and down.
the one you got for me on my birthday is actually supposed to be attached like that. But the leather is too stiff and it keeps undoing itself, so I have not been using it for that.
Yeah, no,
but I don't wear a cloak too often.
But I don't think that the ring buckles were meant to be taken off and on all the time.
You never take yours off.
No, because I don't have to. And also it kind of makes sense, because if I can't get my cloak over my head like this, then it's going to be too tight around my neck. So it would have to be something like this. And that's not practical, because every time something pulls on the cloak, I would go...
Oh, can I see that again?
Don't you see that every evening?
Oh, God. By the way, Torben says the kid is kind of hyped up because Karl is on TV and I think some food is in order. We're getting about to that time. Lindsay's heard of the penannular brooch too. As far as I know, a fibula and a penannular brooch are the same, just two different names.
I think a fibula is a wide term that applies to a lot of things.
Yeah, I think so too, but a penannular brooch is more...
A penannular brooch is
specific?
exactly this. But I think a ring buckle also is exactly this. But it's... historical reenactors should have some character like Karl von Linné to come and basically classify everything and put it into categories so that people stop using the same terms about different things.
Cheeky is a she or her. Okay, I got that right. Lindsay, by the way, I like this one too. I was wondering about that, so she actually answered it. One site, laugh out loud, one site said lavender and cedar make your whole filled clothes smell nice. The concentrations you need to repel moths are nauseous to us too. We used to put cedar chips in the dresser drawers growing up, and if you had a really good dresser, it was made out of cedar because the smell is so nice for clothing. But I was wondering if the cedar was a moth repellent as well. Let's see, what else do we have here, because I think we're out of time. Let's see. Ah, nope, Cheeky says they're different. Okay, we're gonna have to look that one up. What are the differences between those two? Let's see. Oh, and Torben's kid is the spawn of Nurgle, by the way, if you're wondering. Okay. He just took the focaccia off the stove and it smells horrible. Not. You're supposed to bring us focaccia. Let's see. And if I missed any questions or did I get them all? Princess, I usually would join you for a Sunday morning drive on Anne's soup. Ah, yeah, okay. Now I know who it is. Everybody's got, it's hard to tell with the YouTube names on there. Mine says KBum instead of Karin, but so you never know. I've been joining on Ann Decker's Zoom chats. If you haven't been on that, that is a really very good interactive way to get your questions on needle binding. And if there's something that we had today that I can't get, I bring up to her. Anne, tell me the history of the Varsta stitch, and she can figure it all out for me because she gets the really geeky down. But that goes again tomorrow. I guess it'll be 4 o'clock my time. Is the one I usually catch. She's got 2 of them. One of them goes so that the Australians can join at a decent time of day as well. And then one for the European and Americans. Let's see. I think I got all the... Oh, if I remember right, Siskivi's Schuldenham shoes are made of cowhide or something like that. Thoughts?
Yes, I think that's what shoes are commonly made of.
I think I got all the questions in there. Hopefully I did. Are the sails actually square? Actually, did we say that? Did you cover that one?
Yes, they're square. But they're not necessarily equidistant. They're not necessarily like this. They can be more like this. Again, physics. The taller something is, the more. The less force you need to apply to the top of it to break the bottom of it. So, complicated mathematics. The best way to get good speed on a ship is probably not a straight up square. I'm now uncertain if I'm using my English correctly. Square, does that mean that all the sides are equally long? Or does it just mean that it has 4 sides?
Okay, I have to bring this one up. Your face says it all when you're drinking the thing. Somebody says they like everything but the grapefruit. Torben asks, is it a soda? Obviously, is it like a, it's not a cider. It says hops.
I'm not a heavyweight, and I can really feel it in my face that I've been drinking alcohol now, so...
I can see it in your face that you're getting a little warmer. Lyra says, perfection. Amaro says, I guess brewed with real puppies, it would taste even better. I like that
Yeah,
one.
no, I'll take puppies over mangoes every day of the week.
Peruta says, "Ooh, I got some her Gordon with cherry delicious. Hector knows what I like." And Lindsay says, "Laugh out loud, move over, Klingon blood wine." I think that's my favorite. And then Max, actually, one more question, then we should go. I've heard about the blood eagle. This is Max. I heard about the blood eagle. I knew it was one of the most horrible ways to die in the history of humanity. This has been a while since we brought up blood eagle. Well, how accurate would that be?
Well, there is debate about it. I would say it's probably true. Because people kind of want to look at the Vikings as better than they
Oh,
necessarily
Kaya's
were.
here too.
And people have the ability to be super cruel to people. And it is specified in the sagas that the blood eagle is used against people who killed your father. Which is basically the worst thing you can do. That's the person you absolutely have to avenge. There is no ifs or buts about it in the Viking Age. And
Did you say no ifs or sore butts in the Viking Age?
there was probably sore butts in the Viking Age, but that's another matter.
Okay.
And I believe it to be, the way I understand it, it is physically possible to do, and it is absolutely horrendous. So everybody has something really special for the worst kind of criminals. The English had their hung, drawn, and quartered that they used on traitors, which was, to their view, the worst possible crime they could do. The Romans used crucifixion on people who are not Roman, but does something that they consider to be really, really bad. But they probably had something worse that they even used on Romans if they did the absolute worst crime in their society, which was arson. Because Rome is a wooden city and they are morbidly afraid of fires all the time. So if somebody starts one on purpose, we don't know exactly what they did to them, but it is stated somewhere that they would envy the crucified.
Oh, I suppose.
So probably not fun.
Well, there you go. So next Saturday. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you have more?
Yeah, I'm talking about the blood eagle. So
Sorry.
I
Keep
would
going.
say that by that logic, if it is possible to do, and it would be extremely degrading and painful, and also maybe kind of depending on the worldview of the guy it is done to, he has to go through eternity with this actual damage inflicted on his body. Yes, this is absolutely something people in the Viking Age would do to people who killed their fathers. I think it is plausible, but again, it's only written down in sagas long after it happened. And the specific instance where it is claimed to have been used might not necessarily be true.
You're not planning on killing your father, are you? I like your father. Just twist. I'm reading what I want into this stuff.
Yes.
No. Yeah, anyway. Okay. Do you, oh yeah, and the Aztecs and the Mexico used flaying skin.
Yeah.
Question for Karin. I'm still new with nalbinding, and if I want to make a small bag that isn't very stretchy, what stitch would you recommend? Something dense. Dollarna would stretch this. Most of them will stretch this way. Mom and Broden. Thicker the better. I use finish 2+2 on mine, but depends on how thin your yarn is. But I would say something that's nice and thick anyway, and then it shouldn't stretch too much. And I made Greg a pouch once with the yarn that was a little bit thicker than this, with finish 2+2, and it did manage to stretch because he tends to put everything in his bags. So one way to prevent that is if you line it with linen or something, some material, make a smaller bag, a bag that's about the size that your bag is, and then sew that to the inside, and then the bag can't possibly stretch more than the lining. About a year or so ago, sometime in the summer, I think it was last summer though, early last summer, there's a YouTube video, or one of the YouTube lives I have a picture of the lichen dyed yarn on it with a bag. That one I think we show is actually lined because it will stretch.
Didn't Virginia make a bag that we had in the store?
Yeah, no, that was me. I had bags in the store. I still have pouches in the store.
Yeah, I seem to remember something with tiny stitches that
If it-
was
yeah.
very rigid. As
The
in-
needle holder she has is in there, that is. Well, if she did, it got sold right away, though, because I don't remember seeing that one in the store. She made something out of blue, but it was a bag for her friend, and she did embroidery on top of it to also keep it in, I think it was for her sister, actually. And that you
maybe.
can see, it's that blue yarn that's way, way, way back in towards the first year.
I remember she made something that I was kind of looking at it and going, is this needle binding? Because it
Yeah,
was
she
so-
used like a sewing size needle, like a yarn needle, and tightened it to that needle. And then she used Oslo stitch, but when it's that dense, that'll do it. So yeah, I would do that. Maybe if it stretches, if the it is needle, yeah, it does stretch less if it is needle tensioned, because it would make your stitches really tight. So something like that. And Max says, I recommend using a Danish stitch. Yeah, you could, but definitely needle tension. Oh yeah, the simple looping. Are you going to go for the other one? Okay. I get to see what this one is. That was the one we had to try.
Yeah, I had forgotten what it was.
Yeah.
I would have been less enthusiastic if I had remembered.
Ginger Joe, alcoholic ginger beer. Stones refreshingly feisty. Okay, so we're going to see if you become refreshingly feisty. This is only 4%. Seriously, we got to go. What do we talk about next week? What are you doing this week, by the way, other than getting ready for the invasion of my kids? Because my kids are coming this next
I
weekend.
think there are some minor events, but nothing to write home about.
No, we have to go to Bergen with the kids. And go to Outland. That's a really cool store if you haven't seen it. It's if you're not familiar with it, it's
Yeah, I can go to Bergen with your kids, and I can also teach them how to shoot.
He's gonna do that. And he's not talking about a bow and arrow either. He's got an air gun. Okay, you quick drink that, then we gotta say goodbye. People gotta
This
eat.
is very, very clear in color.
Well, it's ginger beer. I've actually never had ginger beer. I always thought that was
This
ingefärdöl
smells-
or ginger ale, but that's ginger ale and ginger beer are not the same.
Champagnebrus in Norwegian.
Yeah, that's what we call villa or whatever the. Oh.
It's not necessarily bad, but if you expect it...
Oh, it does smell like ginger. It smells like root beer.
Yes. If you expect it to be
have
actual
to
beer
taste.
and it tastes like this, then...
No, it tastes like root beer. This would be good with ice cream. When we made the floats. Oh, okay. I can't drink any more of that because I might be allergic.
The mental shock of drinking this when you're expecting beer is...
That tastes really good. It's like a girly beer. That face. No, seriously, we gotta go, Karl. Say goodbye. We're like massive overtime now. See you next Saturday, same time. Remember, we are turning our clocks ahead. So if you have turned your clocks already, we will be 1 hour ahead. Bye-bye. You will then go see Heidi. It's a good one. See? Heidi, Lisa, the girls like it.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be surprised if girls like this.
So if you want to get a beer, a girl.
If you want to get a beer, a girl.
I only took one sip. I can't.
That sounds like experimental Norwegian poetry from the 60s.
There you go. So if you want something to do, go back and watch Karl and Torben get drunk.
øl, en jente.
If you want a beer or a girl. No, I'm ending it. Bye-bye. See you next week. We'll be outside even more, and we'll have lots of Vikings here, too. And then Karl will join us for the second half, because stop torturing Karl. Yes, okay. Bye.